Okay, we're good. Welcome everyone to the March 8th, 2023 meeting of the Portsmouth Conservation Commission. I think we should have one commissioner on Zoom tonight. If that's the case, then we'll be voting via roll call.
She hasn't joined yet, so.
So if she doesn't join, then Brian would be voting? Because
Yes.
you'd be down one?
Yeah,
Okay.
you could do it as the application.
Okay, so we'll see what
starts.
happens there.
Yep.
All right, so first item on the agenda is the approval of last month's minutes. Anyone have any edits to make? Allison?
I have no edits, and I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have one question on them.
Yep.
Where, right at the top, we say members present. It lists alternates as Abby and Brian, right? Doesn't Abby become the permanent member and the newest member becomes the alternate?
No, the way the appointments go is the application, the way the applications came in, that's the way the appointment worked. So her alternate application wasn't submitted as she didn't submit a regular application. So the alternate application, Brian's application came in as an alternate because there was an opening for an alternate. And I think it was Stewart's who came in as a regular member. So it just depends on the timing of the application, and it's up to the mayor ultimately, so.
I know, but does the individual that's an alternate have to
I can share with you.
apply to be permanent?
Everyone does, whenever their term ends, yeah. So when your term is up, you have to apply to be a regular member or fill a spot that was,
Okay.
yeah.
Anybody else edits?
No, I'll second your motion.
All right, second?
I just want to make a comment.
Yeah.
I like the time thing here, the time stamp.
Timestamp
Yeah, sort of interesting.
Pretty fancy.
helps for the YouTube video. If you want to go back and watch it, makes it easier.
Oh,
That's
nice.
everything's recorded now.
Did we have a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, no Lynn thus far?
Let's see. It says 4. Oh, here we go. We have Lynn now. Lynn, are you there? No, she's not there. Here. Oh, here she is.
I am here. Sorry about that.
Okay, so then,
I don't have any comments on the summary,
no comments?
the meeting.
Okay, great. Then we'll vote via roll call. So Barbara?
Yes,
Allison?
Yes.
Jess? Yes. Ted?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Stuart?
Yes.
Brian? Oh,
Yes.
no, Brian doesn't,
I was
no,
gonna
Brian
say, I
doesn't
think-
vote. I had you on here,
Got
sorry.
You've
And-
got yours.
Chair votes yes. Okay. Brian. Next up is conditional use permit application for 96 Buckminster Way. Is anyone here to speak to that?
Hi, how you doing? My name's Aaron Nersessian. So the permit I put in for was to build a small utility shed in a spot on my property. The spot, as I understand it, is currently in the wetlands buffer area. So I have some things, not sure if you want to throw on
Yeah,
the screen
I'm going
or
to bring
not.
it up right now.
Okay.
Full screen. There's full screen. Okay. There you go. And I have the three images you present.
Yeah, so bottom here, you can see where the shed is. If you look at the kind of the bottom of the picture here, that red circle, I guess, next to the house, that's the approximate location. I think if you change images here, you can kind of zoom in a little more if you move forward. Well, there's the aerial view, and if you keep going one more, I think it should give us a more zoomed in view. So right there, that spot is right at the end of my driveway. Again, flat spot. Currently, it's grass and mud this time of year and snow. So the idea is that we would put the shed there. It's 12 by 16 for the size. It's going to be on gravel with concrete blocks. It will not be on a concrete pad. so I think that makes it a temporary structure. The area is about 50 feet or so from the wetlands, and it is an area where the water does tend to kind of go through and pool towards the back. And speaking to one of the council members, I think last week, we talked about some shrubbery we can put in there. You mentioned winterberry, blueberry. I did research those. I think some species of those are a little toxic to animals and to humans, so I'm going to look at other options there, but absolutely we'll be landscaping that area when the time comes. Whatever can help absorb that water. So I'm not sure if you go one more slide ahead here, picture ahead, there might be, yeah, very, very rough drawing, as you can tell with my artistic skills. The idea is that, again, 12 by 16, surrounded by crushed stone. Crushed stone would be about 16 by 18, so 2 feet around each side of the shed, and it would open towards the end of the driveway there. I think that's really all I have.
Questions from the commissioners? Yeah, Barbara.
You had mentioned, so with there's not going to be a slab, it's going to be on footings, is that right? Or, because originally I was sort of thought that it might be on cinder blocks or something.
I don't know what they're called, but yeah, so it'd be crushed stone to level the area out, and then it would be either the cinder blocks or pavers, whatever you call them, to kind of keep it off the ground.
So different than what's in the proposal, which,
No,
oh, because the proposal mentioned concrete footings?
Well, that was for the shed itself. I mean, that was what.
I think that's the same
something
thing as a
recommended.
block or a paver. I think it's all the same nomenclature. It's just not a concrete poured pad. It's just going to be on blocks on the gravel.
Okay, yeah, because the footings would go down underground too, a little bit normally, but, okay. But the rest of it's gravel.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to make note, I understand that. Just in the, I don't know if that's actually who's going to do it, the garage shed plan from Shed Plans.
Yeah.
In there, it has a section where it specifically talks about the foundation preparation, and it shows bricks and otherwise. So I just wanted to make note that that's not what's being done.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. So that was just one of the things I pulled off the internet. I'm still unsure if we're going to build it, outsource the building, or buy a prefab unit. But again, the idea is not going to be a permanent structure. It's going to be on some sort of footing or blocks or
The
something.
rest of that's just an example.
Yeah, so kind of the same idea and style I was looking for,
Yeah,
but as
all
far as
good.
how to build it, I didn't really look into all the details there yet.
Yeah,
I want
thank
to make
you.
sure I get through this process first. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty big shed. 12 by 16, that's the size of many garages. Just wondering what you're keeping in there, that's all.
well, I brought him along with me, and most of it's going to be his stuff. So bikes, power wheels,
Yeah.
grills, lawn riding mowers, just all the stuff I can get out of my garage, so I can actually put a car into the garage. Novel idea, right?
Anybody else?
But also, as far as the size goes, the 12 by 16, it kind of matches up right with the width of the driveway. So again, the drawing might be a little bit off here, but the idea is that it's the same size as the driveway. It just goes back a little bit further, so it's not a perfect square. It's 12 wide by 16 deep.
Question for you regarding snow removal. I would assume before the shed was there, you'd push all the snow down to the end. Where do you plan on pushing it at this point?
Same idea. It would just probably sit around it. I would just clear off the roof and then clear off the gravel around it so that the roof can drip.
Okay. Okay.
Can I make a comment? I guess the one, having that confusion in the application with the specs from the manufacturer versus what you're going to do, we'd like to get that out of there. So when you revise the application for the planning board, can you remove that so it,
Yeah, absolutely.
it might be a good stipulation for you guys to put into, just so it's clear going forward. We've had that problem in the past. They say that they're not that you do this, but they say they're not going to do it that way, but then the application says you are. So we got to make sure the application says what's going to happen.
So just take those plans out and that should be
You can leave the
sufficient.
plans in, just, either take out the statement that says how they're going to build it with the footings or the concrete, pouring concrete, versus, because it's clear in your description that you're going to use concrete
stone.
blocks on gravel.
Yeah.
Which is what the commission wants and what's, the best practice for this site.
Sure.
But it says the other thing later on, so just to avoid that confusion further down the road.
Okay, understood.
It's the
Thank you.
page that's step one, foundation preparation, I think is the problematic page.
Okay, yeah, and again, honestly, I just saw the pretty looking building online. The wife said that
Yeah.
looks great. I downloaded the plans and this is what happened.
All right, someone want to make a motion? Jess?
I will make a motion to recommend approval of the conditional use permit for 96 Buckminster Way with the conditions that there is some planting as
Absolutely.
the applicant discussed to help manage water, and that in fact the shed is built with a crushed stone base and concrete
Like cinder blocks?
pilings.
Cinder
What's
blocks?
the
Blocks.
concrete
Blocks.
blocks, as compared to a poured foundation.
Excellent.
I second that.
Okay. Discussion?
I was just going to ask if it would be okay to clarify native plantings
Oh,
on the
yep.
plantings.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe do we need to say that we're going to take out the page, or does it?
I think that's what she was just saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want NOFA standards?
Yes, thank you. Many people that come before us and build within and close to the wetlands, when they maintain their property, they agree to maintain it according to the standards of the NOFA standards, which are maintain it organically. And we can provide you the link to the manual. It's very, very flexible. And we just want to protect the wetlands and make sure
Yeah.
that you're not using fertilizers, things of that nature. So that it's pretty easy to follow. So if you could, we'd like to add that to the stipulation so that you'll follow the NOFA standards to maintain your property.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
We also require the installing of wetland boundary markers, which you can purchase those through the city, to just set up to show where the boundary is there.
So a quick question on that. How do I know what the boundaries are?
That's a good question.
The city come out, they tell me.
At the toe of the slope in your property is where it is, right there. It's pretty obvious. There's a clear drop-off where they probably filled for the house or something, but
Sort of where
you
the
can,
tree
what we
line
usually ask is that you just put it on a plan, or you can come talk to us, and we can go over locations. It's not, you don't have to put $1 million in, but we do have them. You can buy from us at a, pretty nominal fee, and probably like 3 or 4 in your back, just to start to designate where the wetland boundary is in the city.
Okay.
And let people know and educate people.
Okay.
But if you don't have a location for them, we can work with you. You could put it on if you're going to update your plan for the planning board, you could add it to that, and then you could use that to put them in the field.
Got it.
Yeah.
And do we need to specify any more regarding the area of planting or anything? Do you, like if we said 20 feet, 4 feet on center, native plantings?
Okay.
So what was that?
Yeah.
20 feet, 4 feet on center, so there'd be 5 shrubs going in.
5 shrubs.
At least 5 shrubs.
5 shrubs, 4 feet on center?
20
Yes.
feet in length,
That
4
math
feet on
works.
center.
That math works. So
Yes.
5 new shrubs, 4 feet on center, and they're native.
Peter, do we have to do the wetland boundary marker as a stipulation if it's like one of our ordinances now?
It helps to get it in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I have that we have 4 stipulations, which is the,
Yep, me too.
okay.
Well, so the native plantings just adds more detail. So yeah, 4 is what I have.
Yeah, NOFA standards, the wetland boundary markers, the native plantings, and the,
Removing that page.
yeah, no poured foundation.
Yeah, no poured
Okay.
foundation, yep.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we ready for a vote? Okay, Barbara?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Stuart?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
She forgot her iPad. She left it in the car.
Next on the agenda is 86 Newcastle Ave.
Mark, I'm going to open this up for you.
My name is Mark West. I'm here to go over this project, which was previously approved in 2019. And it expired, and they did not renew it in time, so we're back, and they're doing the exact same project. And I guess when Peter gets...
Getting there, yeah, I'm almost there.
No pressure.
Okay, we're waiting for
That was my
Paul.
problem here. All right.
It's really pretty back in there.
All right, so tell me what sheet you want, Mark, and I'll get there.
I think it would make sense to go to the color sheet, because everything's on that.
Okay. Oh, it's flipped. Is that okay? Yeah, that's the right angle.
Okay?
Yep.
So, oh, is this me?
Yep.
Wow. I was looking for a red pointer. So this has a right-of-way off Newcastle down to the lot, and it goes all the way down to the tidal wetland. There's a big berm here we saw on the site walk. There's a little bit of salt marsh, and the berm has a pipe through it. And this wet meadow, wetland, has old ditches in it that drain into a culvert that carries the water under the berm to the tidal wetland. The proposed project, the existing house is here, there's a studio here, and the proposed project is an addition on an existing porch here, and then a little bit of addition, but a new front breezeway here. So this is 405 square feet of new footprint, the closest of which is 63 feet from the tidal wetland. Then there's a pervious patio here proposed in what is now a lawn area. And there's a pervious walkway proposed from the front door to the patio and also to the driveway. And then everything else in light green here is existing landscaped areas that they need work in the work zone, and all of that will be replanted. They're probably going to salvage some of the existing shrubs that are salvageable, and they do have to remove a tree that we saw on the site walk right next to the deck, and they're going to replant that tree, another large cherry tree. And then any additional plantings will be native shrubs and wildflowers, and they have a whole set of gardens on this side of the house. So there's a lot of landscaping there, and they want to basically return it to that condition. So this whole area represents 1,700 square feet, a little more than that, of impact, most of which is temporary. And there was a question on the site walk about they would probably propose a foundation under this part of the addition and then a frost wall under the new front door breezeway or entranceway. I'm not sure what other questions you all have.
Go ahead, Allison.
I was really surprised when I saw the architectural renderings of the size changes to the house itself. I mean, they're pretty dramatic. And the thing that still concerns me is the drainage. Like right now, it's pretty reasonable to see how the gutter system is working to direct the flow of the drainage from the roof. But with the new design, I have no idea what's going on with the drainage.
Okay, I need to cover that. There's an existing trench infiltration system in front of the house and around the house, and my response to that question in my additional submittal, was that any addition to that system to make it help it accommodate any new stormwater would be part of the design. So that can be conditioned that we add that infiltration, and if you need an additional drawing, there's a whole sheet of details, but I'm not sure if it has the infiltration. It has all the pervious patio.
Yeah,
and
that's all.
that, and as far as the house design and addition, the architect is here, Leif, and he can come up and have a discussion about, because I didn't think it was that much new square floor
Well, it's
footage.
the way the roof angle is totally different. There's like a middle section now that has a roof angle that's perpendicular to the roof that we see right at the moment.
Right.
And so the gutter system that they had, the way the roof was draining, worked very nicely, I'm sure. But right now, you've got a couple of different roof sections, and I'm just wondering how you're going to handle that drainage. Now, another option is to put a stone drip edge around the periphery of the house, so you'd have to set your plants back a little bit further so that you can have that stone drip edge so that the water has someplace to infiltrate. But
I
don't know if there's
understand,
anything
and
else
we
that-
do that a lot with projects, and I guess we would, if we needed to, I believe there's one on this front side of the house now, because everything goes into the ground there, and we can go confirm on the back side, and if we need to add something on this side also, it could be done however we need to design that. Does that make sense to you?
Well, just don't want it to run directly back into the wetland.
Understood.
there. So, and I understand about the berm further away, but I mean, there's wetland very close to the back end of that house, so.
Understood. So maybe we'll have a little more information with that, that we can submit as part of a condition before we go to the planning board. It's a pretty easy thing to address.
Anybody else? Other questions?
You mentioned there would, sorry,
Go ahead.
there would be some landscaping, and specifically you're taking a tree and some shrubs out. Will those be replaced in the same amount, or will there be more and go in?
There'll be
further?
more, well, most of that area now, is landscaped. So again, we'll salvage, but they want to re-landscape it as thick as it is there. But they probably are going to have some additional plants because this is lawn now, and they talked about putting some additional landscaping in. So there will, and not everything can be salvaged that has to be removed during construction. So the goal is to have it as a similar landscaping situation as exists there today.
Would it be possible to ensure that those plantings are replaced? Because your wording is they talked about it, so I'd like to ensure that that's the case.
Whatever you all need to have for that, they're happy to do landscaping.
Thank you.
Did you want to go, Barbara? Did you have something?
Go ahead. If you're relating to that, you want to.
That's what I was
Yeah, go
talking
ahead.
about. So we're very much in favor of removing any lawn area. Lawn is not as good as plantings, so if they could increase the plantings, especially between that patio and the wetland, that would be very helpful.
Okay?
Yeah, I'd follow up on that a little bit, because we did discuss at the site walk having a planting plan for this.
I said I would ask them if they had done that yet, but they haven't. So, and the last review didn't require it, so it wasn't done yet, and they hadn't gotten that far along. So I don't know if that's a requirement, or if we could provide you with a list of species that could be planted, or areas that would be planted?
Yeah, it's because it's kind of vague, you know, and it's hard to like say, okay, well, we required or requested this amount of plantings or whatever. That would be helpful to know, you know, what you're going to plant and where you're going to plant it. You know, about, because as Allison said, that, you know, it's pretty straight down lawn right to that wetland area. And so even having things down closer to the wetland, you know, low bushes or something like that would be great, helpful.
Yeah, that's not something we had talked about before. We had talked about re-landscaping this whole area where they're working. They're not planning on, there's a big tree here, but I'd like to be able to talk to them before we commit to anything all the way down in here. But we can commit to, they're committed to re-landscaping this entire area. And we were there in the winter, but in the summer, it's pretty densely planted. And that's what they said they want to do. So whether we can come up with a preliminary landscaping plan, if that's what you're looking for.
That would be helpful, I think. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels about it on the commission.
Yeah, something more of an assurance that it will be planted and or replanted, and an idea of what kind of plants are going to in there.
Okay. So we can provide a list of the shrubs, and the flowers, and the area that we're covering, and an idea of the numbers. But again, they do want to salvage some of the stuff that's there now.
Okay. Okay, follow up? Yeah. And Martha, was there any kind of maintenance plan on the pervious areas?
I believe that's on the detail sheet. You have to power wash them annually to get the, and that's part of, and if it's not, we can add that. Yep, you just put there. Oh, it's going to be a little tricky. But typically,
Oops, sorry. I can't. I don't know if there's a way.
typically they have the installation guide here. All of this is for the pervious. So I can look at that. If it's missing anything, we can add it. But there's a whole, you're correct, you have to basically clean it once a year.
It's down in the bottom, that blue text in the
Oh,
bottom.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to try to read it someplace.
On the,
It says regular cleaning will help maintain a high enough surface infiltration rate to soak through. The joints, at least one inspection and cleaning should be performed during the first year of service and thereafter as required. Cleaning is recommended when the surface infiltration rate is less than 9/8 per hour, something like that.
9.8, I think.
9.8.
Yeah. 9.8 inches per hour, or 99%.
Or 99%. Oh, there we go.
Clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
They just need to clean anything that isn't sandy, and often they put in the, anything that has to be replaced, they put in the sandy gravel material and reapply it.
And they
That's-
talk about vacuuming them and making sure snow removal blades are covered with a protective coating, and, yeah.
great. So just to make sure that the homeowners have that it's not just in the plans, because a lot of times it's just in the plans and then the homeowner's never going to go back and look at those plans. So if there's a method to pass that on to the homeowners with that maintenance guide, a sheet or something,
We'll make sure we do that.
and then it's passed on to new owners too. Thank you.
If I might, this is I walk through here all the time. It's a great site. You know, it's a really nice neighborhood back there. Anyway, this clearly it's all wetlands back there. And we hope that you can follow a plan of organic property maintenance for that property so that we can protect the wetlands. The Northeast Organic Farms Association has a set of guidelines that regularly we recommend to people to follow so that we can make sure that there aren't pesticides or anything else flowing into the wetlands. So we would ask, and I'll request it be a stipulation, that you follow or the owners follow NOFA standards in the future in maintaining that property. There's a lot of good suggestions in there too. The discussion about flowers and other things, you know, a lot of that is in there, and it's very, very flexible.
Okay.
As you probably heard with the last application too, we're requiring wetland boundary markers now.
Yeah, when I heard that, I was thinking what we're going to do. So we can put one on this tree, which is right on the boundary. I guess we could put one right on the side of the porch on a post.
Be like,
And then the other thing would have to be some sort of post in the ground,
yeah,
in the yard.
Or on a rock or something, yeah.
it can be like, it can be low. It doesn't have to be that high off the ground, so.
Okay?
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
so we'll see what she puts on there.
I'm going to do this for the purpose of discussions because
Okay.
I'm not sure what you want to happen, Barbara. But, so I will recommend approval for the conditional use permit for purposes of discussion at 86 Newcastle Ave with the following stipulations. That the applicant address the drainage issue off of the roofs and the various angles so we know that that stormwater is being managed. That they post wetland boundary marker signs, that they follow NOFA standards and organic land management care, and that, this would be my suggestion for a stipulation, that they come to the planning board meeting with some sort of planting plan that includes an area equal to or greater than what is currently landscaped, and that they use native plantings when they are designing how they re-landscape this area after construction.
Draw the owner's attention to the fact that the pavers need maintenance
And that the owners are clearly aware that their pervious pavers will need maintenance.
Have that guidance.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, pervious pavement maintenance guide for homeowners. So that's 5. Second?
I'll second.
Barbara?
Sorry.
Okay. Discussion? What do you, do we want the planting plan to come through Peter too, before just going to the planning board?
whoever. And if Peter has questions about it, then I'll be glad to come around.
Yeah, so basically, you want a planting plan that's equal or greater than what's
What's planted currently?
currently landscaped.
And do we care where those plants are going? Like somebody had suggested being closer to the boundary.
It would be nice to be like behind the patio, removing some of the grass, but I mean, if they can,
Equal or greater is.
yeah,
good
equal
enough.
or greater,
Okay.
that would be great.
Then Peter would sort of approve it.
Well, if that's the requirement that it be native plantings equal or greater than the existing size, I can do that. But if you want to see the planting plan and approve it, then you'd have to have it come back. But I can at least review it for the type of plantings and the size of the planting area.
That's good.
Okay. Seems like it's good. I was going to say it helps to have it ahead of time for us.
I understand, but because before we didn't have any questions about any of this, and just from what I can see out there, that is not like a super green, heavily managed lawn by any means. So, and I guess right now, it's just a lawn merging into a wet meadow that they let grow up naturally. Changing that whole thing would not be as preferable, I think, as maybe a few plantings here and there, but really we're just re-landscaping an area that we're disturbing. So that's why we approached it the way we did.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. I was just going to say, for discussion purposes, can we add one more stipulation? That the area that they let grow up as wet meadow continues to happen?
Right, I think they have to annually mow it to prevent it from
Sure,
growing
yeah,
in, but
right.
they don't landscape it, per se.
Okay.
That's helpful to know. I think that's the piece for us, is seeing it in the winter and covered in snow. We don't know what it looks like and
Yeah.
Haven't seen it in summer,
Yeah.
as being a neighbor.
Yeah.
It is just growing naturally. There's nothing much that's done to it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Allison, in terms of the stormwater infiltration from the roof, what do you want to see from that?
Well, I think, as I said, like a 2-foot stone drip edge, or else have the guttering system that directs the water in some way so that it just doesn't free
So
flow.
like an actual
into the-
plan that again, like gets,
That'd be great.
okay,
I mean, that was what I was hoping to get, so.
okay. So a basic plan that shows what they're going to do with the roofs.
You want to
runoff.
see infiltration from the house before it reaches the wetland.
Right.
Yep. Can you get all that before the planning board meeting?
Yeah, we have to do it all the time right on the ocean and seacoast, and there's a system already there, and that's why I said it would just be expanded, but we'll show it
Yeah.
on the addition.
Yeah, show it in your submittal to the planning board, and then we
Yeah.
can move ahead.
Any other discussion? Ready for a vote? Back to my list here, sorry. Barbara?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Stuart?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay.
Thank you.
So Mark, just check the, I don't know off the top of my head, the deadline for the planning board meeting. If you can get the stuff in by then,
Oh, we will.
it'll be the April meeting though, not the March meeting.
I know.
So,
It doesn't go through anything else, it's just,
nope.
after we meet with you, you have time, and we just get you, we submit it to you also, the Concom and the,
No, just to the planning department,
okay.
and then we get it on the planning board agenda for you. And so we just need one hard copy and a digital copy.
And upload it to the site.
All uploaded to the site, and then you
Can't
can.
wait to do that
You can
part.
mail in the hard copy if you want. Yeah.
Okay,
You can just turn it into one PDF, that's the easiest.
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, committee and project updates. Who wants to start?
Well, so is this where we would talk about
Do you want to start with the stewardship event?
Sure.
So, Barbara and I were on the call at 10 this morning with Peter, and we were discussing a little bit about Jess's event on Friday, and then our follow-up event on Saturday. And Peter had some ideas, if you want to talk about how you kind of, your
Well-
thoughts on the Saturday stewardship event.
Yeah, I still need to check with Public Works in terms of disposal of invasives, but I was wondering if there's more of a plan in terms of what was going to be accomplished. So if it's part of an invasive removal plan, or it's just a one-time invasive removal event, or,
Well,
you know.
I'm hoping that this is going to be an annual event. We are looking to, I would like to concentrate on the Oriental bittersweet removal. I know that toward the entrance, if we do the Little Harbor Road, there's a lot of poison ivy there. Knock wood, I have not ever had a case of it, so I feel
Lucky you.
pretty comfortable cutting that back as well. But, and that's me personally, I would go there before anybody
That's
came.
not an invasive, though.
It's something that's very problematic for a lot of people.
Yes, I would
So
agree.
that's why I would just cut that back. But otherwise, it's really constant. And there was, the last time I was down there, there was so much of that Oriental bittersweet. And it really depends on how many people we get. I mean, you know, there's a potential to have just the people from the Conservation Commission show up. But then again, there could be quite a few more. I mean, we've already got free from Prairie Moon Nurseries 100 packets of seeds to give anybody that volunteers. They're a purple clover, which is, you can seed it on ground, you know, bare ground in the spring, and it'll come right up. So it's very easy to take care of. You know, if people bring their children, I think that would be a great thing for them to do with their kids and to watch the seeds and how they sprout and things. But anyway, yeah, so it would be nice to do Little Harbor, but then again, we could also go to someplace like the high school cross-country course out there by Sagamore. That's a huge area, and there's a lot of invasives there, including the bittersweet, which is the thing that I find most problematic because it kills trees that it grows in. But there's an awful lot of knotweed and buckthorn and all kinds of other things out there as well. So I don't.
Is the idea now you were going to do a sort of a field preview to see where the best site would be?
Yes.
Because the one thing I think you might want to consider, and it's maybe a little bit different type of event, but I think it could do both, is the Great Bog. The trails out in the Great Bog that are in the upland area are completely overgrown and really could use clearing. And it could be something that even a small group could tackle. If it's only a small group, they probably could get it done. But if it's a bigger group, you could do invasives as well. So I would just ask you to consider that in when you're looking at the sites to do.
Okay.
It might be a really good one because you'll accomplish two things by doing it. So, and I hadn't thought of it this morning when we met, but I think it's an area that we usually get volunteers, but I think since COVID and we just haven't had, there's hunters that go out there a lot, but not a lot of people go out there, so it hasn't been kept open. And usually I'll get like a volunteer group from an organization or a company that has volunteers that come out, and it's usually a one-day thing just to clear it. It's pretty overgrown now. I think we could do it in one day, but at least tackle some of it.
Well, I had written to both you and Peter Rice, I included you on the email message, that the three of us were going to go out and walk
Yep.
the different sites. So we were going to check out Little Harbor first, but then it's good to have options, because if we feel like that's not a good place, then it could be the Great Bog, sure.
Yeah, and I've got to call into him or an email into him just to check on the ability of someone to pick up and what they'd be picking up, and I guess we need to know how they're going to deliver it, but I think we talked about if it was in big black
Yeah,
plastic bags.
if we
could-
were going to have invasive, they were going to be bagged.
So I'll get back to you on that.
So I think the idea was a little bit working on Jess's offer last meeting to do the Friday thing and have a table and then offer this up as a next day activity. But, so, you know, whether or not there's other people on the Conservation Commission that would be interested in being involved in either one of those, I think we were looking for, both the Friday 4 to 7 still happening, and also the Saturday event. And what the Saturday event will look like a little bit more, but. Oh.
And so, I mean, like, this is for everybody to add their comments. I mean, anything that you think is. would be
I think this
good or
is
helpful or
awesome.
whatever.
I've already been sharing with people that this is one of the actions that'll be happening that day. I would love to participate, but I've already committed to doing a cleanup on Pierce Island that morning, so that's where I will be. But we will definitely include this as we start to market not only the kickoff event on Friday, but things that people can participate on Saturday. We will definitely share this as one of the options. So.
And I've spoken to Stephanie Secord, who is going to put it in the newsletter, the city newsletter, as an activity that hopefully will also get some traction for people to volunteer.
And we'll get it to you, Brian, too, for the Facebook page.
Yep. Yeah, I think this whole thing is great. And my son actually works at Mount Agamenticus, and he's responsible for volunteers, clearing the trails, all that kind of stuff, you know. And he said that a lot of people come from Portsmouth and they say, you know, we'd like to help out, but the city doesn't do anything, you know? So they,
2 events on one day.
yeah.
Wow.
But I like the slant of having it be kind of an opportunity to have people learn about invasives too, and like a citizen scientist kind of thing where, you know, if there's some clearing, we don't have a plan yet on how to manage the invasives on the public undeveloped land, so it could be like a kind of a kickoff to what kind of gaps we have and what we need to plan. But they learn about the invasives, they learn about, you know, like Peter, you had said, how to go home and look at their yards or something like that. We
Right.
try to keep a
Yeah, and that's really
educational
important.
part.
I mean, I have neighbors that, finally, my husband and I volunteered to cut out this whole area, which was just invasives, and it just kept blowing the seeds over into my yard. And so we cleaned out the whole thing and planted a ginkgo in its place, you know? Just because it just was bothering me so much.
Yeah, the discussion literally had me thinking, okay, I need to go home and look at a couple of things because I don't know what they are.
Would, so I feel like for me, maybe one of the things on the Friday night piece that Conservation Commission could do would be having a list of native species for people. So if they're trying to
Yep.
shift their gardens and their landscaping to that, just giving people good ideas about, because I know you know, like, I've learned through this commission and like, so technically Norway maples aren't native, but they might not be such a bad option anymore. So just giving that information to people, the things they really should avoid, or, you know, that I feel like would be hugely helpful.
The other thing that we're trying to do is to make these events environmental in themselves, so that we don't want to handle out a lot of papers. So that's the other thing that we're trying to balance. It's like, there are a lot of pieces of paper we could hand people on why wetlands are important and what invasive species are and what some native plantings could be. But all that paper, you know, I'm just not sure how to handle it.
Right.
You know, so if anybody has any suggestions, I mean, we had talked about maybe just having a board, a poster of some sort that has different QR symbols on it, so that you can, that's a link to the website, so that you could go in and you want to find out more about, you know, native species or whatever. If that appeals at all, I mean, we could do something like that.
I think that's a good idea.
maybe having a
Just QR.
handout of a list of all for people that
I
don't have
noticed,
them.
I noticed on my computer yesterday for the first time, actually, I was looking at a site, and I right-clicked on something, and it said, create QR code for this site. So I thought, well, it's so easy, I can do it.
It's really,
And to your point, I had this conversation with the library too, so we've been talking about anything that we do hand out, we try to make it multifunctional so that, you know, maybe it is details about your event on Saturday, so they know where to be and when to be, but then on the backside has a native planting list, so they might actually hang on to that as a reference or something, so.
Right, and the other thing is that rather than supplying people with water at the event, to just, recommend that everybody bring their water bottles with them. And, I mean, I'd be glad to make some cookies or something. I can make some gluten-free peanut butter cookies for munchies at the event, wherever we are.
The other thing I had written down was to talk about was the ordinance review, which Allison, Barbara, and I are meeting at the beginning of April to really look at them. And then from that discussion, we would come back in front of the Conservation Commission for a work session to talk about it with everybody before it goes further down the line. And that's all I have.
So it would be really helpful for anybody that has a contribution regarding, if you look at our ordinance and you think of some way to approach climate change, address climate change in our ordinance, that would be helpful, because we don't have enough information, I think, for people. I get very upset when they want to cut down a forest and put in a parking lot. And so can we have alternatives that will be greener than just putting in a parking lot, even if it's a porous pavement you need something more than that. So is there some way that we can work in having solar carport over the parking lot? Or can we have islands where they're heavily treed? You know, just things like that that we can introduce in our ordinance to help.
Is it possible to get a copy, or where can I find those ordinances first, like as they are, to be able to look at them and make?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, you should have gotten this is our zoning ordinance, Article 10, you should have gotten that when you started.
Okay. Yeah,
But
it's
if you
in there.
don't, I can send you.
No,
you know,
And
link.
it's online, you can get the whole zoning ordinance, and then you can zero in on the chapter that you want, which is 10.
Yeah, Article 10 is really.
Yeah, and read through it and just like pick out anything that you think needs to be stronger, or where it's like, I don't know, you need more beef.
So you guys, you're gonna meet in early April?
Yeah,
So
April
we'd probably
10th.
be discussing it in May, most likely?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanna know time frame when
Yeah.
we should be.
So the other update, the other
Yeah,
update,
the governance.
the
thing. Yeah.
I attended the governance committee, I think it is. So it was City Councilor Kate Cook, who's kind of, seems to be the chair of that, or what, she's heading it up. And there is Councilor Tabor, and there's one other councilor on that.
Benton?
Older guy, I'm sorry.
Oh, Lombardi.
Lombardi, thank you.
Lombardi?
Yeah.
Council Lombardi?
Yeah, so they had a meeting based on really looking at Portsmouth's undeveloped lands, and had some things that had come up in their discussions as a governance committee about what to do with those properties, and realized that they probably aren't the ones to make recommendations on that. So they invited everybody that might have something to do with that to that particular meeting, and it was Conservation Commission, the planning, I don't think that actually the planning board was there, but the Recreation Committee, the chair of that was there, the Greenery, Cemetery, Greenery and Trees Committee. There was somebody representing all of those different groups and speaking about ideas, and I basically told them all about our study, the PULA study, the open space plan, and what kind of things we run into at the meetings, and then talked a little bit about the money that was set aside for land conservation opportunities in the future. And they had some ideas about what they wanted to do. They were talking about boardwalks and opportunities to do bird watching, and I think the other one was Frisbee golf. Kind of sort of passive recreation combined with some active recreation opportunities. So I definitely said, I think this really is under the purview of the Conservation Commission. And Peter, you had followed up a little bit because Suzanne was there and they got in touch with you, but.
Yeah, I know I had provided them links to the PULA study and the open space plan, and sent them there anyway.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll be hearing more about this in the future. I think it was really nice that she was trying to be inclusive. She wants some of this to be more of a public process, I think. So we'll see what comes out of that. But if anybody has any questions, I think either Peter or I can help with that, or any interest in it.
Well, my big concern is that, the conservation land has stipulations on it, and it's been set aside for specific purposes. And so I hope that people understand that conservation land is different from creating a hockey rink recreation center, which was in the paper today. And the thing is that the city has a finite amount of land available. And we want affordable housing, or do we want recreation? A big recreation with a hockey rink, or do we want affordable housing? It may come down to that. But I think that's, a lot of the conservation land should remain that way.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the hockey rink's coming.
What'd you say, Ted?
The hockey rink is coming.
I didn't,
I said the hockey rink is coming.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
Proposals in the paper.
I didn't see it in the paper, I was just,
I learned, I tried to work, on synthetic fields and try to get natural grass in instead. And the athletic community is just such a powerful lobby. All those little sports teams, you march out, a bunch of 10-year-olds, and say, we want a hockey rink, it's gonna come. It's unbelievable. It's a waste of money. They're not cost efficient, but
Did
it's
it
gonna happen.
say anywhere, did they have locations or?
They're talking, community campus. People think that's an endless resource, But it's gonna be coming.
They should pave over Pierce Island Pool, put it there.
That won't matter there as much. But I have very strong feelings about this because we have done so much work and because it seems like everybody's trying to grab at some of this. So just to let you know, I'm not taking it lightly. And hopefully
I think
everybody
it's
else
great.
has it on their radar.
Thank you.
Conservation land is, it says it in the name, and it should stay that way.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is not actually set aside as with an easement that way, but yeah, there's recommendations and it doesn't involve those things, so.
I'm sorry, I actually have to leave. I have to pick up my son, so.
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think
Does
so.
anybody have anything else?
No, we'll make it.
Can I make a couple comments?
Yeah.
This is Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a little tricky to jump in. That's so weird. Now I'm like seeing myself twice. Just a couple little things that just to kind of catch up. The events that you were talking about, the Friday and the Saturday, what are the dates of those?
Friday, April
21st.
21st, and Saturday, April 22nd, Earth Day.
Earth Day.
Okay, perfect.
And Friday is
Um,
from 4 to 7 at the Connie Bean. Did you hear that?
Yep.
And we were
Okay.
thinking 9 till noon for the stewardship event.
And that's, the stewardship event is like an all invited kind of thing. Us, but plus anyone else we might want to invite.
Yes.
Yep.
I love that idea. That's great. One other idea I had too that sort of relates to both conversations for the Friday event. It'd be fun to just like raise the visibility of all of this fantastic conservation land that Portsmouth has. Like one of the ideas I was thinking about for that table is if we had, like a big map of some of the conservation land in Portsmouth, and just a little bit of more information about what's there. And there could even be like a little exercise too, where we gave people like a little sticky dot. And if you've been to any of these sites, stick a little sticker there with your initials on it or something like that. Something a little bit interactive, but that also just, talked a little bit about the value of this land that we have. Because I feel like there's land that people don't even know is there. And if they knew it was there and maybe had a chance to visit it now and then, that would just build, more support for the conservation land itself. But that's an idea that I'm curious if people like that idea. And if we want to do that, I might need a little bit of help actually generating that map and printing it and mounting it and stuff. But I'd be happy to sort of help be there to facilitate an activity like that.
I think that's a great idea, and I think that Jess was trying to emphasize that we wanted something to be interactive so that, it would draw people's attention.
Yeah, I love it. I know other people have talked about using those, I guess they're called dot boards, but those big like survey questions where you put a dot, yes or no, or so that would kind of be in line with that if there wind up being a few of them around the event.
And I think, Steve Whitman did that at an event that I went to when he was doing the open space plan.
Yep. Yeah,
And
they've
we
done
would-
that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's,
And we could help put something together, either a big map or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Lynn,
That'd be fun.
this is probably not the place to ask, but if the Great Bay Discovery Center wants to be there in some magnitude, they're obviously welcome as well.
Yeah, there probably isn't the capacity to send somebody there. But I'd love to be there.
That's because you and your girls are going to be at the stewardship event, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I will totally bring my kids to both events, actually. I think it'd be fun. I'll even put them to work at either one. Yeah, and then the other little comment I wanted to make, I'm sorry, I'm like jumping around, but to the comment about the ordinance review, just, the Piscataqua Region Estuaries Partnership, PREP, just released a small grant program with an application deadline of April 28th. So if there was any interest in asking for a little bit of money, it's like up to $25K, doing a buffer ordinance update, maybe combined with some outreach around what buffer protection means in Portsmouth, I think could be a competitive idea for that opportunity. But again, it's something I could maybe help with a little bit, but would only want to do if it really dovetailed with what the buffer ordinance group wants to do and Peter and Kate thought were appropriate.
Peter, are
It's a great idea.
you're working on stuff, right?
It might, well, so we don't have any work on the buffer right now, but we did get a grant for $20,000 from the Moose Plate. We're just waiting for that to come finalized, but we got the notification that we have it, and we'll be doing remapping the wetland boundaries.
Right.
So updating our wetland map, citywide wetland map. But I didn't have a plan to submit something for that PREPA grant, or PREP grant, but we can look at that. I mean, that could be something. I think it's challenging if it has to be adopting the ordinance, because it takes so long to get it through the city system and what the
Right.
planning board and council want to see.
Help
But
writing
in terms of coming up with recommendations and where we want to adjust it, that might be where it's at. And outreach certainly is something that we could always use help with. So if it's hiring someone to do outreach on the buffer, just as it is now, I mean, that in itself is something that could be useful. So we can look at that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Great.
And you guys know the CIP passed, and the conservation fund money is in there, which will then go to the budget in the summer or in the spring. And that wouldn't, it's not authorized in the budget yet, but that's what puts it in the budget. So that's moving ahead. And what else was in there?
I feel like we really need to be moving forward with what properties we want to look at, because we don't want something to go on the market.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
A motion that we adjourn?
We don't have to do a vote for that, right?
You don't have to.
Hi, Lynn.
You can adjourn the meeting as chair.
Meeting adjourned.